Can one everyday food quietly wear down your kidneys, especially as you get older? Yes, it can, and the reason worries me because many seniors eat it thinking they are making a sensible, protein-rich choice. I am talking about processed meat, the bacon, sausages, ham, deli slices, hot dogs, and cured meats that slip into breakfast, sandwiches, and quick dinners almost without a second thought, and stay with me because this matters. I'm Dr. Charles Oliver, and after years of seeing kidney numbers drift the wrong way in good people who thought they were eating reasonably well, I want to help you spot this early, so subscribe, share this with someone you love, and let's get into it. One thing I do in clinic, almost every single week, is ask people to talk me through a completely ordinary day of eating. Not the perfect day, the real one. What did you grab for breakfast when you were in a rush? What went into the sandwich at lunch? What did you snack on while the television was on? And to be honest, the answer that comes up again and again is some form of processed meat, a rasher of bacon in the morning, ham in the sandwich, sausage at night. It feels normal, familiar, easy. It also feels like protein, and protein sounds healthy. That is exactly why this catches people out. Now, why do the kidneys care so much? Think of your kidneys like two careful coffee filters working around the clock. They are not glamorous, but they are brilliant. They keep what the body needs and send the waste away. When you load the body with very salty processed meat, you make those filters work under higher pressure. The extra sodium pulls more water into the bloodstream. Blood pressure rises. Tiny blood vessels inside the kidneys take the hit. It is a bit like turning up the water pressure in old household pipes every single day and then acting surprised when the seals start to wear out. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly, but steadily. And here's the thing. Seniors do not have quite the same margin for error they had at 40. Kidney function naturally changes with age, even in healthy people. So the same salty breakfast that a younger body may brush off can create more trouble later on, especially if high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease are already in the picture. A lot of you will be wondering, is it really the meat itself, or is it just the rest of the diet around it? Fair question. Honestly, that is exactly the right question. There was a study published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition from the ERIC cohort that looked at over 15,000 adults and followed kidney outcomes over time. What stood out was that higher intake of red and processed meat linked with a higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease, while foods like nuts, legumes, and low-fat dairy looked more protective. I'm not going to overstate the evidence here. That study does not prove that one strip of bacon destroys a kidney. It does not. But it does show a pattern that deserves respect, especially when it lines up with what we understand about salt, blood pressure, and kidney stress. So what can you do tomorrow? Start with breakfast. If bacon or sausage shows up most mornings, switch even 3 of those mornings to eggs with tomatoes, plain yogurt with fruit, or porridge with nuts. That sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But small repeated choices matter far more than dramatic promises on the internet. Right then, let's go a level deeper, because sodium is only part of the story. When I read food labels with patience, I am not just looking for salt. I am looking for ingredients that many people have never been told to notice. Words with phos in them, phosphates. Processed meats often contain phosphate additives because they improve texture, shelf life, and color. In food manufacturing, that makes commercial sense. In the body, especially an aging body with kidneys under strain, it can become a real problem. Why? Because the kidneys help regulate phosphorus. When that balance starts to wobble, the body pushes out hormones to compensate. That may sound abstract, but stay with me because this matters. Those hormonal shifts are not harmless background noise. I sometimes explain this by comparing it to a house thermostat that has to keep kicking on because a window has been left open. At first, the system compensates. You do not notice much, but it is working harder than it should, for longer than it should. In kidney disease, one of the hormones that rises early is called FGF23, and another key player is parathyroid hormone. When these keep climbing, they can signal trouble in mineral balance and add to the strain kidneys already face, which, if you think about it, is actually quite remarkable because the blood test for phosphorus can still look normal while the body is already struggling behind the scenes. A recent feeding study published in Kidney Medicine looked at adults with and without chronic kidney disease and changed one major thing in the diet: phosphorus additives. In the group with kidney disease, Lowering phosphorus additive intake led to meaningful drops in FGF23, parathyroid hormone, and urinary phosphorus. That matters because it tells us the additives themselves are not just innocent passengers. They change the physiology, they push the system. And processed meats are one of the common places those additives hide. So here is the practical move. Turn the packet around. If you see ingredients like sodium phosphate, potassium phosphate, pyrophosphate, or anything similar, put it back and choose a fresher option. Fresh chicken, fresh fish, eggs, beans, lentils, even a simple piece of roast chicken you cooked yourself will usually beat heavily processed deli meat. No, that does not mean you must become perfect. It means you stop giving your kidneys a daily chemistry experiment for lunch. Now, here's something that surprised me when I first started paying close attention to this with patients. Many people do not feel any kidney warning signs while this is happening. No dramatic pain, no flashing light. That is what makes kidney disease so sneaky. People tell me, "But doctor, I feel fine." And I believe them. They do feel fine. Early kidney damage often whispers. It shows up first in blood pressure that gets harder to control, swelling around the ankles, a slow drift in creatinine, or protein leaking into the urine. By the time symptoms feel obvious, you have often missed years when a simpler change might have helped. That is why food matters so much. You are either nudging the kidneys toward calmer waters or asking them to absorb another daily hit. There was also a large prospective study from the Singapore Chinese Health Study, published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology, that followed more than 63,000 adults. The people who ate the most red meat had a significantly higher risk of end-stage kidney disease over time. Even more interesting, replacing one serving of red meat with other protein sources such as poultry, fish, eggs, or soy linked with a lower risk. That does not mean every piece of meat is poison. It means the pattern matters, the replacement matters, the routine matters. And if you're finding this useful, which I really hope you are, then please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend or family member. It genuinely helps this information reach more people. And honestly, preventing kidney trouble before it starts is one of the most worthwhile conversations we can have. Let me give you a very ordinary example, because this is where people get caught. Someone swaps bacon for deli turkey and thinks, "Good, I have made the healthy choice." Maybe they have not. If that turkey comes packed with sodium and phosphate additives, the label may look lean, but the kidney burden can still be there. This is why I keep coming back to labels instead of front-of-pack marketing. The body does not care at all what the packet promises. The kidneys respond to what is actually inside. I had a gentleman in clinic recently who kept telling me he barely ate any junk food. He did not eat sweets. He rarely had takeaway. But when we unpacked the details, breakfast was processed turkey slices on toast, lunch was canned soup with crackers, and dinner often included sausages because they were easy. On paper, that did not look outrageous. In real life, it meant high sodium almost all day. His blood pressure crept up, his ankles puffed by evening, and his urine test showed more albumin than I wanted to see. When he shifted toward fresh proteins and stopped leaning on processed meats, his pressure improved enough that we did not need to rush straight into adding another tablet. That is not a miracle story. It is just physiology behaving the way physiology behaves. Now, this matters for seniors in particular. Appetite changes with age. Shopping can become tiring. Cooking for one person can feel pointless. Teeth may not be what they were. Hands may ache. So convenience starts to win. I understand that. Advice that ignores those realities is useless. If I tell an 80-year-old to soak beans overnight, cook from scratch twice a day, and never touch a packet again, I am not helping. I am showing off. A practical plan works better. Buy a cooked chicken and portion it. Keep eggs in the fridge. Use low-sodium yogurt. Choose no added salt tuna when you can find it. Make one pot of lentil soup and freeze it. These are real-world swaps. There is also the issue of blood pressure medicines. A lot of my patients take tablets to relax blood vessels or help the body let go of salt and water. Those medicines help, often a great deal. But if processed meat keeps pouring sodium back into the system, you are rowing against the current. Why make the medication do all the heavy lifting while lunch keeps undoing the work? That is one of the most frustrating things for patients. They take the pills faithfully, yet the numbers still wobble. Sometimes the missing piece sits in the sandwich box, One study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition looked at people with stage 3 chronic kidney disease and found higher sodium intake linked with higher blood pressure and more protein in the urine, which is exactly the kind of stress signal we worry about. Protein in the urine is not just a laboratory curiosity. It tells us the kidney filter is getting leaky. That is why I care so much about the food choices that keep pressure elevated day after day. It is not moral, it is mechanical. And one more thing, do not get distracted by labels that say high protein. High protein is not automatically high quality, and it is not automatically kidney friendly. The source matters, the processing matters, the sodium matters, the additives matter. Once you start seeing food through that lens, the whole picture changes. Now, another reason processed meat worries me is something people rarely hear in clinic. These foods do not just bring salt and additives. They can push the body toward inflammation and alter what your gut bacteria produce after you eat them. That may sound a bit technical, but let me make it simple. Your gut is like a little chemical factory. Feed it one kind of material and it produces one set of byproducts. Feed it another, and the whole output changes. Diets heavy in red and processed meat can increase compounds such as TMAO, which researchers have linked to cardiovascular and kidney-related risk. Not every study says the same thing, and I want to be careful there, but the pattern concerns me. A lot of you will be wondering whether this means you can never enjoy bacon again. No, that is not what I am saying. I am not going to sit here and tell you this is a magic bullet or that one food explains every kidney problem. It does not. Some of the louder claims online run well ahead of the evidence. Kidney disease usually grows out of a mix of pressure, sugar, genetics, medications, dehydration, vascular damage, and diet over many years. But processed meat often sits right in the middle of that cluster. It raises the burden without giving you much back nutritionally that you could not get more gently elsewhere. To be honest, I think the real danger is not the occasional holiday breakfast. It is the repeat exposure. It is the harmless-looking daily habit. The ham sandwich every afternoon, the sausages every morning, the deli slices because they are soft, easy, and require no cooking. Habits become physiology. Physiology becomes lab results. Lab results become disease. That chain is not dramatic, but it is real. There was also a prospective study in older adults in Spain, published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases, showing that higher consumption of ultra-processed foods linked with a much greater risk of kidney function decline. Now, processed meat is not the only food in that category, of course, but it is one of the clearest examples because it combines processing, sodium, additives, and convenience in a single package. In other words, it is exactly the sort of food that can look practical while quietly pushing the body in the wrong direction. So what does a kidney-friendlier plate actually look like? Usually it looks boringly normal. More fresh food, fewer packets, more ingredients you recognize. If you want a sandwich, try roast chicken you cooked at home, mashed chickpeas, tuna with no heavy salty dressing, or egg with salad. If you want something savory at breakfast, try eggs with mushrooms, avocado on toast, or leftovers from dinner instead of bacon or sausage. If you need convenience, cook once and use it twice. That one habit saves people more often than any fancy nutrition hack. And here's the thing I tell my own family. Protecting your kidneys is not only about the kidneys. When you lower your intake of processed meat, you usually cut salt, cut additives, improve blood pressure, and often improve weight and blood sugar control at the same time. One change helps several systems. That is why it works. The body does not live in separate compartments just because medicine likes separate specialties. Now, if you already have chronic kidney disease or your doctor has mentioned protein in the urine, this becomes even more important. Please do not hear me saying you should slash all protein on your own. You still need enough protein, especially as you get older, to protect muscle and strength. The goal is not less life in your food. The goal is better sources of protein and less processed rubbish around them. That distinction matters. You know, it is very easy for people to get frightened by kidney advice and end up eating too little. I do not want that for you. What I do want is for you to take one honest look at your week. How often does processed meat show up? Once? Fine. 7 times? That is a pattern. Start there. Choose 2 days this week when you swap it out completely. Then build from that. Read one label a day, watch for sodium, watch for those phosphate additives, drink enough water unless your own clinician has told you to restrict fluids. Keep blood pressure checked. Ask for kidney blood tests and a urine albumin test if you have diabetes, hypertension, or a family history. These are not dramatic steps, but honestly, they are the steps that save people trouble later. If this all sounds almost too ordinary, good. Most powerful prevention is ordinary. It lives in shopping lists, breakfast routines, and what lands in the trolley when you are tired. That is where health goes right or wrong for most people. Thank you for watching. If this helped you think differently about what is really on your plate, then please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes a ham sandwich counts as a harmless, everyday choice. I have done other videos on blood pressure, blood sugar, and protecting your body as you get older, so have a search around the channel if you want to go deeper. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.